Do you have any advice for someone who's accepting a family member back after being released from prison? Do you any advice on how to handle it?
I'd probably say respect personal space,
I always incorporate the clap.
You gotta. Yeah.
Dude, so this flew on Hulu.
Yeah.
I was able to see the first episode at the screening where I got to meet you.
That's right.
Man, just like the buzz around not just our community, but the comedy community has been big for this show. The response is big, man. Like how are you feeling right now about a week into it?
I feel good. I mean, I'm really proud of it. I feel like, I like that people like it. Critically, it's been received pretty well. Like, Vulture, the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, and a few other outlets have reviewed it really well. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting, because I think I wanted to make sure that we did something that could ride that line between hitting audiences, but also having some critical acclaim, Wanted to write something that felt equally funny as equally smart,
right? And it's relevant, yes, but also organic and personal.
Yeah,
that's what I like about this show versus maybe some other programs and series that our community gets a chance to do. We're trying to hit relevant issues. This show is a personal story. Like, can you tell us a little bit about this is part of your personal experience? You've been doing stand up with Frankie Quiñones, who we've had on the show, co-star of the show. Tell me about what parts of your life are the inspiration for this?
Parts of my life really are just like the neighborhood where it takes place, the general area, sort of the mom character, having two sisters, having cousins that were, gang members or in and out of prison. So a lot of that stuff, kind of the more relationship-orientated stuff, like being in an on and off relationship with like somebody from high school, things like that I no longer do, but I mean, at one point were probably relevant to my life.
Okay, so, one of the big things, the conversations that people talk about when it comes to Latin content and the various types, right? Because I'm Cuban, you're Mexican American, like there's different, Latinos are of different stripes, but the LA, like the Cholo culture, whenever something comes out of that content-wise, people want to say, oh, stereotypes. But the thing is, you yourself, your comedy and your character is very anti-stereotypical. It's you're a different kind of guy. You're cerebral. You're dark. Right, you say humor that's kind of like gallows humor, and a lot of people in our community might not even be used to that. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how that created your act that led to this show.
Well, I started stand-up comedy about like 8 years ago, almost 8 to 9 years ago, and so some of the comedians I liked were kind of darker comedians or cerebral comedians, like people like Maria Bamford, Colin Quinn, Louis C.K., Patrice O'Neill. Stuff like that. Like, that's the stuff I really dug, And then, so when I was doing stand-up, I tried to talk about my life a little bit, but I also talked about maybe a more cerebral or dark shit, or things that were like funny, but maybe had nothing to do with my background or whatever, So doing stuff like that, but I did have jokes about, my background or my point of view on things, and that's kind of what brought the show. Was I met these guys who, when I started stand-up 8 years ago, there were these guys, Jake Weissman, Matt Ingebrigtsen, and Pat Bishop, who had a show on Comedy Central called Corporate.
Yeah.
And it was a really funny, dark show about like what's like the dark shit about working at an office. And basically they were like, hey, we'd love to work with you on something. And then when we pitched this, we kind of pitched it as like, they said, maybe something related to like your life or inspired by some of your stand-up. And the kind of tone we picked was like, Friday, but directed by the Coen brothers,
How'd you hook up with these people again, though?
From comedy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the thing about like stand-up comedy is like, when you're a stand-up comic, stand-up comics hire each other for stuff, like when somebody makes it, they know funny people,
right?
So that's really how it happened. I knew them as stand-up comedians, and so I'd known them in the scene.
Do you notice that you're getting the attention of non-Latino like comedy fans a lot, where they almost feel like they can relate to you maybe a little bit more?
No, I get both. I get like.
Now, I'm not saying more than the Latin audience. The Latin audience can obviously relate to you. I'm saying that non-Latino audiences also, like, usually you have a Latin comic that resonates with the Latin community. You do, right? Because we all know this guy. We have the smart ass, dark comic book collecting guy in our family. But non-Latinos who might find some of the, you know, the characters, the cholos and stuff, like, interesting, compelling, funny, and entertaining. But with you, they actually can relate to you in a way. Maybe some of them are kind of like gravitating towards you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as far as the show, I think that in stand-up comedy-wise, me personally, I like a room that has everything.
Right.
Like, if a room has all white people, I think it sucks. If it has all Latino people, that's cool and it's great. But I'm also like, I wish there was, if it's a little bit of everyone, everybody kind of drops what they conceive to be culturally funny, and they just accept what's like objectively funny. You know? So, like, in terms of stand-up, I like that. And in terms of the show, I think it might be able to speak to, I think it's speaking to people that are just not Latino.
And how'd you get into stand-up?
Man, just from having awful jobs.
Tell me about that, because I find that funny. At the screening, you were talking about that. I love how they were trying to be like all chipper at the. So, little background. We'll work out. If I go off on tangents, so just remember that we gotta get back to the jobs. Here's a tangent. I go to the screening, and Frankie has a great upbeat attitude. And then they got some local, I don't know, correspondent, news correspondent.
Very nice journalist.
Nice woman, chipper. She's there. She's trying to be upbeat, and every time she came to you for an answer, you had like this super dry, dark reply that had like a nice section of the crowd laughing their ass off, and everyone else like, is he being serious?
Maybe a little uncomfortable.
I know. I love that. So you brought up the jobs though. So tell me about some of the jobs that you had when you got into stand-up comedy, and how that motivated you.
Well, I didn't start stand-up till I was 29, and there's a lot of like young people start stand-up when they're like 20. 19, 20, 21. So I didn't start till I was 29. So a lot of that was, I don't have like a formal college education. I got kicked out for bad grades, and then I went to community college, and then I got kicked out of community college for bad grades. So I was just working regular kind of menial jobs. Like, I had a friend who, he has a landscaping company. So sometimes if he needed a jardinero, he would call me and I'd do it. Or then also I just worked like maybe temp jobs. Like I would work at a warehouse. I worked for a catering company. One time I tell people before stand-up, my personality was dude with 3 jobs. I was just like, I was broke, and I had to have 3 jobs because they all didn't pay well. So if you had 3, it amounted to being paid okay, And
were you funny? I mean, obviously you were funny to get into stand-up, but were you funny like on the job? Did people tell you when you would crack a joke? Hey, you should probably do?
Well, they would tell me in the like more, like I wasn't a class clown in that sense, or the class clown at work. I was more of like, I'd say slick shit to them, or like I would make jokes and stuff like that. So yeah, I would make a lot of jokes, but I wasn't like a physical guy or like anything. But I was just kind of like, I'd mess around and talk with them, say silly or weird stuff or dark stuff, and that's really where it came from. I mean, I would do that at work a lot, like if I would work with somebody, like I remember working at a warehouse and telling this guy that I was working with, like, hey dog, don't tell no one, but I'm here with undercover boss. Like, they clearly knew I was joking, but like references, like weird offbeat references.
You got like the barrio intellectual thing down. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy, he's from the hood. He didn't go to college, but we all know that he's the smartest guy in the room, right?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay, well, one of the smart. Well, at least he's gonna have something smart to say. Or at least it's gonna seem that way.
Maybe. I think the only thing that helps me is that I know I'm not smart. People know. A lot of people think they know a lot about everything, and I just know what I have experienced and what I like. That's the stuff that I feel confident in. But like, I don't know. I don't think I'm necessarily like the smartest guy in the room. But I do think like I'm confident in what I like and what I know and stuff like that.
You are confident in what you know, and you're very honest about it, which I think that's why your humor just cuts straight forward. You just kind of go there, and people are like, oh, you're supposed to have like tact before you say something like really serious or dark. And we were talking before we started the interview about like some of the the perceptions and stuff about, you know, Latin content, Latin families, the way they work into it, how, you know, you talk about how, like, you know, how good, how, you know, poor them, all they have is family, but you were giving reasons for why you lived at home at 25. So can you talk a little bit about what this show really hits on, and how it's beyond the family thing for you?
Yeah. I think, you know, I think it's, I think people like to look at Latinos as like, oh, they're a family-oriented people. And I think for the most part, a lot of Latinos are, you know. And I do consider, like, I love my mom and my sisters and my extended family to death, you know. But I think when we were writing this show, it wasn't like, why does he live at home? It's not because he's 31 and he loves his family. He lives at home because he didn't go to college. He has a job at a struggling nonprofit that doesn't pay well. So it was looking at it more like through a working class lens, like looking at it economically, like being like, all right, well, you know, some people, or at least some of my friends I know, like, you know, they didn't live at home when they made mistakes or they were broke, you know. It's not somehow familia is important. I mean, it is, but it's not like, you know, they weren't there because somehow that's all that mattered to them.
Well, I love the honesty in that. And then tell me a little bit about, like, the Frankie Quiñones character. And I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, he's great.
You guys have toured together, right? Before this?
He used to. I met him years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, and he would occasionally take me out on the road with him. I'd go open for him and whatnot.
Awesome. And you know, did you have a family member that came out of prison that you had to deal with? Can you give us a little bit of background on that story?
Yeah. I had cousins, you know, older cousins that grew up in gangs, and they were in gangs, you know, and then some of them went to prison. And so the idea was just kind of writing a character that felt honest, you know, like a character that sounded like a real person and with no judgment. Like, you know, that was kind of the idea of the show. It's like, just, you know, shoot it without any sense of judgment. Right. Like, we're not saying this is good. We're not saying this is bad. Right. We're just showing you what I think is honest about these people. And it was kind of, you know, it was based off of my cousins and older dudes or gang members that I knew that, like, maybe talked a certain way, you know, like, and joked around a certain way. Or so, yeah, that really came from that. And I mean, it's named after one of my real cousins, Luis, and so, yeah, it really came from that.
Now, do you have any advice for someone who's accepting a family member back after being released from prison? Do you any advice on how to handle it?
You know, I'd probably say respect personal space, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, but also I'm sure be patient, you know? It's like one of those things where it's like, you know, these dudes been through a lot. So don't, like, you know, respect what they've been through. Yeah. You know.
Going back to the Frankie Quiñones, so, like, you guys obviously united, like, in stand-up comedy, but you saw his videos, obviously, like, you know, the Cholo thing, and I'm the Dad for the Day, which is, to me, one of the funniest sketches that I ever saw online. Like, what do you think that he brings, you know, to this show that it's time for him to be recognized for, so to speak, as a talent? I think that he's been flying under the radar as one of, like, the best undiscovered talents.
Yeah, I've been telling that fool he's been ghetto famous for years. Right. And I told that fool he's gonna blow up. Like, you know, I think he just has a real human element to what he brings to when portraying characters and nuances. Like, I think he's really good at, like, small things that, like, somehow pop out from characters. But at least with this character, like, I told him, hey, this is not a sketch. Like, this is a pretty grounded character who maybe just really is immature and likes to be funny. Like, but it's, you know, and he got it, you know, because he comes from that world, and, you know, he has family members who are part of that world, and, you know, he's not a square. You know, he's not a square either. Like, so I just said, just play it like natural and human, and, you know, like, and I said, you know, because if we make this character too funny, it could feel like a cartoon, you know, it could feel like a sketch, which is not a bad thing, but we're not doing sketch, you know, And he knew exactly what, because like I said, he comes from that world, and he has family that comes from that world, and he's not a square. So he knew how to do that. He knew how to bring like a human element to the character. And yeah, that's what I think.
Why I really think that you're introducing him to the greater world and the entertainment industry as an amazing actor.
Yeah, dude, he blows it away, man.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Like, he should be in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he should.
Like, I really do think that. Like, he should be in everything. He's great.
I just thought of him as a Santa Claus character. I mean, like, let's break boundaries.
Yeah, we're done with you, Michael Peña.
That's amazing. Hey, what was it like for you growing up? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Inglewood, and then I lived in South Central as an adult. I lived there for quite a number of years.
Where do you live now?
Oh, man, I don't want to let nobody know where I live. I'm trying to navigate this thing where I can still have a private life.
Yeah. Good. All right, let's go back to where you used to live. What was it like, being in South Central? Like, kind of like one of the shows, touches upon this. I think a lot of times people think, everybody in South Central is a certain way, and but no, you have like, you have the kids, or I don't know if describing you like the nerdy kid, the comic. Were you a comic book collector? Like,
yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I read comic books.
Like the kid that reads, the kid that's not, gonna join. Like, how did you navigate that landscape and like, people from the neighborhood who are unlike you?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people like me. That's the thing. It's like, so it's not like I'm rare. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of people like me. There's if you go to places like Compton or Inglewood, or South Central, or Long Beach, Gardena, Watts, like these kind of like, I guess, the greater South LA landscape, I'm not that rare.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people. It's not like I was somehow like, there's a lot of people like me who like punk music or alternative shit.
Right.
And, and they're not scared. They're not wimps or anything.
Right. Did you whenever you had to deal with a confrontation, and I'm not saying that it necessarily with somebody on the street, it could have been with an ex-girlfriend, it could have been with your mom, whatever. You dealt with it with humor, I'm assuming. Like,
definitely with humor. I always like slicked myself out of a confrontation. Like I said, I would say something funny to them, or like something weird or whatever. That was really helpful, and but also like oftentimes like it's not like it's chaos in these neighborhoods. It's like they know who other gang members are. Yeah. Like they don't look at me and be like, unless they're just gonna rob you for whatever reason. They don't. There's no discrimination there. But like they're not gonna come up to me and be like, hey, what you bang or whatever. Because they know I'm not a gang. I mean, I'm sure that's happened. It's happened to me in the past before, and I would just say something
funny. Only one
funny.
time in my life.
Yeah.
I was walking out of a party. It was like a crazy kegger, and there was like not even, I wouldn't say gangs, bro. It was like wannabe crew kids. That's some guy, some minion, because it's always a minion. Yeah. What you claim? And I'm just walking in my car by myself. You know what I'm saying? It's Miami. It's like, but that guy wasn't even a gangster either. He was drunk and trying to, but that's the only time anyone's ever asked me. Yeah. They can see I'm not really rolling with anybody.
Yeah. I feel like I've been hit up, but it's always like, I just say like a simple, I don't bang. Or like...
That's some good advice.
So simple. Nah,
just say.
I don't bang. I just go, nah, man, I don't bang. I'm a square. And then they just leave me alone. I mean, at least that's been my experience, But, like, I feel like, I'm not rare in that situation. Like, there's a lot of people like me who live in these neighborhoods.
Well, that's why it's good to see a show like this and see a character like you forefront.
Yeah. It's not anything special. Yeah. It's not anything like... There's a lot of people like me.
By the way, on the show, you do use a lot of real homies in some of the secondary characters. I saw them at the screen. It was
We used
everyone. When the people that he's rolling with, he's safe. No one's getting to him that he doesn't want to get to him.
We used this really amazing company, casting company called From the Streets to the Sets.
Nice.
This woman, Bernice. Please forgive me if she sees this. I forget her last name, but you can follow them on Instagram. They're called From the Streets to the Sets.
Nice.
And they really kind of specialize in that sort of background casting. So a few years ago, I found out about them on Instagram, and right away I just followed them. Right away I followed them, because the previous to them, there was a casting company years ago, like maybe 20 years ago, or called Usual Suspects. That this guy Caesar, who I'm forgetting his last name too, used to run.
I'm bad with last names.
But he did like Training Day.
Yeah.
You know, all that, and
I'm surprised Homeboy Industries didn't come up with Homeboy Casting.
Yeah. Well, you know, they've had a lot of people come. There's this, again, I'm forgetting his last name again, but there's this guy named Richard. He's an actor. He was in he was nominated for an Emmy, and he comes from Homeboy Industries. He's really amazing actor.
Oh, who's on Mayans?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we've covered on the show, and neither of us can remember his last name right now.
Yeah.
We El, you know his last name, Richard. He's the skinny guy on Mayans MC.
Long hair.
Yeah.
Talented dude, man. Really, really talented. Or like somebody like Joseph Raymond Lucero.
You should have kept the theme of not remembering anyone's last name.
You know what it is? I have him in my Joseph Raymond Lucero. I think of him in threes.
Yeah.
So that guy's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Like really talented dude from San Diego, and he went through Homeboy Industries. So I don't know that they have a casting thing, but
they clearly should, they got a bakery.
Yeah, but
they got
clearly
a tattoo removal.
Yeah, they clearly have a lot of talented people there.
Yeah. Felipe Esparza.
Yeah, Felipe Esparza.
He came through Homeboy Industries.
Yeah, that's right. He did. He's a really talented guy. He's a super funny comedian. I voted for him on Last Comic Standing.
And he won.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And they make Homeboy Industries. Let's give props where props is due. Fantastic almond croissants.
Oh yeah, they have a cafe. They have people should support them and other nonprofits like them that do that kind of work.
Well, going back to the Mayans MC, so Mayans MC got renewed for a 5th season, which is on FX, also airs on Hulu. So I guess the people at Hulu kind of like are down, right? So tell me a little bit about the pitching process. You got Fred Armisen.
Yeah.
Now Fred Armisen has become like the anointer.
Yeah.
I love how you look. This guy's down. I pointed at something. He's like, what is he looking at? He's following. He's become like the anointer of Latino comedians. He did the Spookies.
Yeah.
Is that on Hulu?
That's right. No, it's on HBO Max.
Okay, and who's the guy that did the Spookies?
Julio Torres.
Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah, really funny guy.
He has a funny bit about he wants to be a vegan, but he wants people to like him too.
Yeah, that's right.
Hilarious stuff.
Really
so Fred Armisen seems to be getting involved in finding. He's really putting his money where his mouth is in terms of finding new Latin content.
Yeah.
How did you link up with him, and what was the process of getting him involved as an executive producer and pitching the show?
Well, that happened when me and the guys the showrunners who had a show called Corporate on Comedy Central. These guys, we were creating the show, and we had a treatment for it, like describing what the show is, having images that help people imagine the tone of the show, and we were kind of dead in the water for a few months because nobody, they knew those guys because they had a show called Corporate. But they didn't know me. I was just kind of a stand-up that had some industry buzz, but I wasn't a household name by any means, And so it was a little bit dead in the water. We were trying to get pitch meetings, but nothing was, from what I recall, nothing was really working yet. And then one of the showrunners sent me an email saying, hey, we were thinking about sending this to Fred Armisen, who my manager knows his manager or whatever, right? And I said, yeah, do you know, are you okay with that? I said, oh, yeah, by all means.
Now, just the treatment, you didn't have a script yet, right?
No, we didn't have a script, yeah. And then we wanted to get paid to write a script. And then I thought, it'll take forever to hear back from him. Not because he's busy, He seems so incredibly, he's very busy. He has a lot of shows. He's always doing work, So I thought it might be a while since we hear back from him. And to his credit, it took us like 5 days. And he got back to us and was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you guys. And he basically said, how can I help? And we said, well, would you be willing to hop on as an EP and maybe go to pitch meetings with us? And he said, yeah, sure. And yeah, he was really generous with his time and feedback and whatnot. And he comes out in an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in an episode. He was great.
And so, you what was the pitch meeting at Hulu, or what was the pitch meeting at all the places like what?
Yeah, it was. We wrote a pitch describing the show, first introducing ourselves, and then introducing ourselves, what we do, and then talking about the show, and then describing the show, kind of the tone we wanted to go for. The way we pitched it was like Friday, but directed by the Coen brothers, you know. And
obviously, like your stand-up played a role in that, right?
Yeah, you played a big role. So luckily,
did they come out to see you, or did you send them like clips?
I had clips. I had a clip on YouTube, and then I had a Comedy Central clip on YouTube. So they had that as a reference.
Okay, yeah. I gotta ask you about the episode with the big birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't want to have a big birthday. You hate big birthdays.
I'm not a big birthday
I can't
guy.
stand, because I don't want birthday. Yeah. Like, if I have something to say, and I guess you feel this way as a creator, you want people to listen to you when you have something to say.
Yeah.
That's when you want attention, right?
Yeah.
You like the spotlight when you get up on stage and you're gonna do a set. You're gonna do your jokes.
Yeah.
But when people are just coming out of the woodwork to be like, "Happy birthday," and you know what I'm saying, and like throwing an event for you that you don't want to be part of, tell me about that, because I hate that too.
That kind of idea came from just talking about me and one of the showrunners, Jake Weissman. We both hate our birthdays, and we don't want to celebrate our birthdays. We want to be left alone. And we kept saying, there's other people who feel this way, you know? And then, but we also, what we thought was really funny is that the idea that you hate your birthday, but other people would love to celebrate your birthday. And so that was just really funny to us, you know? And I remember when we pitched that episode, the network was kind of worried that that's too cerebral, and we don't think that'll hit. And we were like, nah, you're underestimating people, you know.
They're underestimating our community.
Yeah, they're underestimating people in general. A lot of people, you know, like a lot of people hate their birthdays, and that's okay, you know. Or a lot of people, they just thought I won't. But we kept like pushing it on them, and then we ended up doing it. And I think once they read it as an episode in script form, they saw how funny it is, you know? Because our goal is to be not just cerebral, it's also to be really funny, you know? So if we positioned it almost like it's like a horror movie, and that everybody's chasing you, and they're trying to celebrate your birthday, and it's your nightmare, like, that's great, you know? Or it's also like just letting them know from a character's point of view, like, this character is depressed. He's not happy where he is in life. So the idea of celebrating another year gone by, that's not a good feeling, you know? So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Listen, dude, I feel really, really good about this show. How do you feel like, I was talking to you before we started, you still got this like, humble vibe about you.
Yeah.
But, now you're going to be going to comedy shows. It's going to be a different vibe you're getting, a different energy you're getting, especially from the other comics. All comics are super competitive.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying it a little bit, or is it something you're trying to like not think about?
I probably try not to think about it. I have a pretty good relationship with a lot of comics. I feel like I always treated everybody fairly well, and just because I feel people deserve to be treated fairly well, right. Like I was always, I think it goes a long way if you're just not genuinely nice to people, you know. So I felt like I have a good reputation with at least the comics that I came up with, and they're all my friends, and they all seem really excited. And then I'm excited. I mean, I hope it means that people come out and see me, and that's cool, having the opportunity to sell tickets and stuff like that, and then getting to do material in front of them that I think they might like, or even if they might not like it, it's good to take a chance.
Yeah.
It's good to not underestimate people.
Last thing, are you guys, is Michael Imperioli getting down with the homies? Is he learning, what's he like on set?
He's cool, man. I mean, he's a soprano. Like, not only was he in Sopranos, which is, in my opinion, the greatest TV show of all time, but he's like a true artist, He wrote a novel a few years ago. He wrote a novel a few years ago. He's written movies himself. He's directed movies himself. So to work with that guy who's like, he really got it. Like when he read all the scripts, he just said, "Oh, this is not like a traditional sitcom.
Yeah.
Like this is really funny, but it's like observational and like it's a little smart.
It's different. It's personal.
That's what he said.
The well runs deeper than any other Latin comedy that I can think of, right now. So we feel it's gonna go far, man. Thanks for being here, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Wait, before we leave.
Oh yeah, all good.
You said that because when I met you last week, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna interview for LATV. Have you heard of LATV? You're like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, really quick, about like your history, like knowing what LATV means to you.
When I was in high school, LATV at one point, I forgot what channel specifically, but they were playing music videos, and there was like I don't know if there was almost like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there seemed to be a live audience.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, he was a USC professor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm
I think I remember.
about?
Yeah, LATV Live.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, and they showed a lot of music videos, and I just remember being like, it was really crazy to see like, you know, like maybe a music video from some band in Latin America, you know, but also like current stuff that was popular in America. So it was really cool. I just remember being like, oh, like, I think when I was probably watching it, everybody was Gen Xers.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was what I was into. And so it was really cool to just see that kind of perspective from LATV and being like, oh, all right, this is what I'm more similar to.
And Chris Estrada, you are now on LATV.
Oh, that means the world.
Check it out.